Again. We're here again with Carel Eichner, and I'm just so thrilled that we have this chance to chat with him and get what information we can for whatever questions we have. I've sent him my list of questions to fill in case people who are participating don't have anything in particular. We are recording this session, so hopefully anybody who can't join us right now will be able to see it later. We do ask that you keep your microphones muted, but if you have a question, please unmute and join in. Don't be afraid. Whatever level question, from absolute starting a baby horse, working with a new horse, rising trot to piaffe passage pirouette, whatever it is, please jump in and Carel will have an answer for you. I guarantee it. So Carel, if you'd like to go ahead and give us your intro and we'll get started. Thank you.
First of all, welcome and thank you, Laura, that you were able and willing again to put up a session for us. And because that is what I need and what I think also the horse world need, that professional people will be able to reach out to people to talk about what keeps them busy. Because we always talk about what keeps us busy as professionals. And it is from our point of view. But very often I feel that what is normal for me is absolutely not, in understanding and knowledge is not normal for the person who asked the question during the lesson or after the lesson, or sometimes in between lessons that people call me up. So I think that this way opens really an opportunity for everybody who has questions. And I said it in the last time already, even when you think for yourself that is a silly question, then at the same moment, that is not a silly question anymore. Because when it keeps you busy, that means it is something you want to be answered. You want to know what is yes or no, right, in what I think, and that is why I have the question. So I think that everybody have to put every question. Please.
Listening, yeah.
Oh, cool.
Ask them to mute her.
Please mute Renee if you could.
Oh,
Please.
gosh, I'm so
Thank you.
sorry.
That's okay.
So this is what I want to put forward. You have a question, then don't be shy and put a question on the table. Now we want to talk a little bit about dressage as a whole, what we have done last time. Everybody knows what I stand for. One thing I want to put under the attention of the people who are listening, the FEI, and that is your national federation also, every national federation works according to the rules set by the FEI, and those rules are made 100 years ago by highly quoted professionals in those years. And now we found out that those rules are changed into guidelines. Normally, when you ask for the rules, then right away by the FEI, the page did open and you could read and see exactly how every exercise have to be executed in the arena. And that means that we trainers, we have to work the horses accordingly to that. The rider have to do it accordingly to that. And the judges, and that is the most important thing, have to judge it according to that. Now it is put far away, it's very difficult to find it. And it is more, he said, these are not rules anymore, these are guidelines. Now, a guideline is for me something I can play around with. I can give my own interpretation for how the flying change should look like and how all the other exercises should look like. And I think that's absolutely it's incorrect. And also unacceptable, because every sport has absolute rules and you have to do everything, of that is football or that is swimming or that is free eventing or whatever it will be, according to rules. Now we have no rules anymore. We have a guideline. So I want to warn everybody who is listening now to me that you should work according to, because by your own national federations, the rules are still rules. I checked it up by different federations. So this is the opening session. I got a few questions forward. First of all, somebody, and I think that is for most of the riders a very important question, the sit of the rider. Now, I see the sit of the rider, I see that like in spoken language. The better a person can express himself in a language with depths, then you can be understood better. And compare that with myself. When I start teaching, many, I think 40 years ago, my vocabulary was very, very limited. So when I had to explain something to a student, I had to do that in different ways. A short story today came then a long story to express my feel. How does it feel? How does the horse react? Because you sit correct or incorrect, or you were correct or incorrect. So the better the rider have his sit under control, the better the horse can deal with the information that the rider is giving to the horse. And one of the most important parts is, by the sit of the rider, that is that the rider can sit independent on the back of the horse. What does that mean, independent? That means that I, with my sit, will not interfere in a negative way in the natural rhythm and balance what every horse has. So the better I have a developed independent sit, the better I can help the horse to understand aids that we are giving with our body, what is based on pressure points, change of pressure points, a little bit to the front, a little bit back, a little bit to the left, a little bit to the right, included leg aids, included sit aids from the pelvis, and with the hand aids. Now, what we see today, that is that most of the people, they have no independent sit. Most of the people have not gone to basic training and understanding their own body. And when you don't know your own body, when you don't know what you do with your right hand and your left foot in the same moment, then you don't know if you give an aid to the horse who can be understood by the horse and executed correctly. So when I give an aid, and it is not in harmony with the horse, his position in that moment, and balance and rhythm, then the horse tries to understand me, tries to give an answer, but he cannot give the correct answer. And then the rider get activated and get, after a few times, he get angry with the horse and said, why you don't understand what I want from you? How stupid are you, horse? No, how stupid are we? Because when I ask 3-4 times exactly the same aid, then in a way the horse starts to react on it, even by not 100% understanding what I ask him to do. So when I have an independent sit, and my horse is 100% in balance under my sit, in a straight line, in a bent line, in a change of rein line, yeah, then I can teach him to go a little bit leg yielding, simple, by bringing my body a little bit out of point of gravity of the horse. And then the horse feels unhappy with it, because I was all the time balancing him and in point of gravity and above point of gravity. And now I move a little bit to the right, and he said, damn it, where is my rider? So he steps a little bit to the right or a little bit to the left. And then he does exactly what I ask him to do, even when he doesn't understand what he should do with it, but he reacts on it because I have an absolute independent sit. And that counts for all exercises. What follows after, walk, trot, and canter, big circles, etc., 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 etc. So the better I control my sit, the better I can control my horse. The more I can balance myself on his back, the less I have to use my hands. And when I don't have to use my hands to balance myself, then I stay away from the horse's mouth, and then I can push him a little bit more with my pelvis under. and he comes under himself, and then he comes into self-carriage, and then he stays light in the bridle, and I don't have to put sharp bits in the horse's mouth to make him light, what doesn't work anyhow, yeah, because it works only 2-3 times, and then you need another sharper bit, and a sharper bit, and bigger spurs, and bigger whips, yeah. So the sit of the rider, most important part. How do you develop, and how you continue developing an independent sit who helps the horse to come a Grand Prix horse? Not that every horse can come a Grand Prix horse, but let's say for Grand Prix. That is, first of all, to get taught to sit on the lunge. And that means not 1 time, that 2 times, yeah, but at least a half a year every day. Like in the old-fashioned system with the Spanish riding school. Like I was educated as a young rider. Every morning I was at 6:30, I was at the stable, and I had a very, very good trainer, yeah, who didn't want what he said in the time. I don't want to teach the new Forish. I want somebody to teach who understand what he wants to do in his life and to be a good rider. So I was lucky. Benny was my God in the time. He did give me an excellent sit. Now, but then the continuation is important. And then you have to sit on many different horses, because as horses have big strides and small strides, and some horses have the difficulties, and you have to learn to follow with an independent stride, those big movement and a small mover, and a horse who is a little bit, yeah, what we can call irregular in his movement because of he was trained wrongly. And I cannot make him balance with my hands. I have to rebalance him with my sit. So, and riding without stirrups. Yeah, and also once a week, when you can afford it and you have a friend, and don't feel ashamed, because you need it once a week on the lunch. Your friend takes you half hour on the lunch, and you take your friend a half hour on the lunch, and you create the basic sit. Because by helping each other, you will be able, when a small mistake in your sit will slip into your daily riding, that somebody who sees you a week later says, hey, you sit a little bit crooked on the left. Normally you will answer, no, I'm not sitting crooked on the left. Yeah, you sit crooked on the left. But because every day it slipped a little bit more in to be crooked on one side, you don't feel it anymore. And this is why you need to have somebody who guides you, just a friend. Maybe your daughter, maybe your son, maybe your husband who never sat on a horse, but understand very well the lines of the sit of the rider, from the shoulder to the sit bone to the hock, etc., etc., etc. Everybody can read it. So this is why I think, and that is why I'm very happy with the question about the sit of the rider. Without a independent good sit, then there is, for the final on the end, then it is almost impossible to create that what we call the classic picture from a horse in all exercises. And it is not just in Piaffe and in Passage. Everybody today put pictures on the Facebook, Piaffe and Passage, and I see, then I can puke. Yeah, because the group is high and the regularity is poor, etc., etc. Horses have mouth problems. No. A horse just in walk, when a correct sitting rider, that the horse makes long steps, covers a lot of ground, is super light in the contact, stays in that frame, and you see the back legs really reaching forward. Yeah, then that is for me also a perfect picture. It doesn't have to be Piaffe and Passage. Yeah, so then when we have that independent sit, and we don't need our hand or use our hand to interfere in the speed of the horse or in the lateral work or in the changes, then we get something what most of the time in modern riding, what we hardly see, that is coming from behind, underneath, and tracking. And tracking means stepping the minimum in the footprint of the front leg. In walk and trot, and in canter, they have to have at least, let's say, 6 foot over. Yeah, with a large jump. Why is that possible? Why those horses can do that? Because we don't interfere with the hand. We don't hold energy with our hand. so they can have the full motion of the activity created by the forward riding horse in rhythm and balance again, yeah. So we get the maximum out of the stride, and then we do that what dressage is all about. Then we improve the movements of the horse, what was given to the horse by nature. Now, to end this thing about the sit, when nobody has a question afterwards, then we can continue when you have a question. I had once, I came back from Germany, yeah, and I was working for John Schwab. And John Schwab was a very, very talented rider, real self-made man in business. And he got this idea he wanted to start riding. And a couple of years before he started riding. And then when I came to John, then he said, I want to ride for Holland in the Olympics. I said, okay. So he bought himself Maharaja, the horse from Harry Bolt, Olympic horse. And he worked with a good trainer and with me, and he progressed very much. And then he got a phone call, and that was from a horse dealer. And the horse dealer said, John, I have for you the best dressage horse. I never had such a horse in the stable. So John said, okay, I will come in the afternoon with Carl. So we went, we saw him. He had walk and trot and canter in the indoor free. I had seen not so often in my life, really. Such a fantastic mover. Nice horse. Andalusia type, was not an Andalusia, but Andalusia type. Fantastic front on that horse. So then John said, I want to see him under the rider. So they put the saddle and the bridle on the horse, and they put the rider on the horse. The horse couldn't walk, horse couldn't trot, horse couldn't canter. So John said, for this, you bring us all the way. He said, yeah. He said, it's the best dressage horse, because that is what we see in the arena. He said, not one dressage horse can really move today. And that was right, because the majority of the people is so busy to create the front and neglect the back that we interfere with a stiff and wrong sitting sit, out of rhythm, out of balance, and we hold the mouth with our hands. That is why, instead that we improve the gaits, we ruin the gaits. That was my story today as calling the startup from this talk, but also to answer the question about the importance of the sit of the rider. I don't know if there's anybody who has a question, so then please go ahead. Kelly, I need your help.
Yeah.
Because everybody is
Oh.
muted.
No, everyone can unmute themselves. Why not?
Okay.
Yeah, everybody can unmute. So if anybody has any questions, feel free to unmute. So if nobody else wants to join in on that, so talking about the seat, you talked about with the leg yield moving yourself slightly off the center to
Mhm.
encourage the horse to start stepping under.
Yeah.
So can you talk a little bit about, for example, using your seat to help the horse understand shoulder in versus haunches in? Because your legs are more or less in the same position for each of those. So
For to teach the horse lateral work is in reality, you start with the same idea, what I said from leg yielding. You place your sit, yeah, let's say shoulder in to the left, my left hip comes a little bit forward, yeah, and my inside leg stays by the curves, and I drive my horse with the sit, and then I ask the horse more or less with 2 reins, because I taught him correctly to make a change of rein. So I ask him in the first step or the second step for introduction of shoulder in, let's go together in a diagonal, yeah? Now, in the moment that the horse brings his shoulders over the rail, where he thinks that I want to go on the diagonal, then I said, and that is why you need the independent sit, then I said with my outside rein, no, I don't want to go on the diagonal, I want to go straight forwards. So I use something what I taught them already to come to the next exercise. Also, I use the big circle and spiral into the circle to teach them to go, not with my inside hand at all, yeah, to go from my inside leg and my outside leg, yeah, a little bit out of the circle and coming back into the circle, spiraling in. So I teach them what I teach them in leg yielding to answer the pressure of one leg. When I have the horse in a 10-meter circle, yeah, and he really rounds up around my inside leg, then I come from the short side, and I said, I to the corner, yeah, and then I said, no, we don't go and we don't continue into the circle, we go sidewards. So because I have him already around my inside leg, I have him already on my outside rein, I have him flexed to the left, I don't have to do anything to make that bigger. I have it already. The only thing what I have to do is I have to go straight with the bend from the 10-meter circle on the track. Forwards, I have my first 2, 3, 4, maybe when I'm lucky 5 strides of shoulder in. Now, when I get that and I feel that the horse, after 3, 4 strides, because we talk about the horse in learning process, when I feel that that horse is losing activity, then I make him straight. And then I extend a little bit my stride because I want to keep him in front of my leg. What many people do, they try them with the hand to correct that what is lost already. It is gone. You cannot repair, you cannot fix it. So how can I fix it? When I have a long arena, and it happens after 4 or 5 strides, then I said again, I ride a 10-meter circle, and maybe 2 or maybe 3 10-meter circles. I feel my horse is totally bent around my inside. Hop, we go in again the 4 or 5 strides. Now, shoulder in, you can practice and you can teach the horse the way I explained. A travers is a very dangerous exercise. Because, and I think that the people that are listening, that you have many horses, they go to the corner with the croup in. They fall against the inside leg of the rider. Then when I come and you do a 10-meter circle, for example, then you feel that also. So you have to see that the horse follows with the houndjes the shoulder line. Yeah. But when I use that natural escape from the horse from straightness, and he falls in with the croup in the corner, yeah, then I take him with the outside rein, I make a half hold, and then my right leg is behind the cut, we go left, eh? My right leg is behind the cut, and the horse says, thank you for being such a stupid person, because you helped me to escape from your aids. But every lateral movement what you make can only succeed when your horse is bent around your inside leg, so a controlled travers, a controlled shoulder in, a controlled half pass can only be when the horse bent around the inside leg of the rider. That's also the shoulder in, the horse is bent around your inside leg. Yeah, but he should not, when I ride a corner, then my horse in the shoulder in and in the travers and in the half pass should not bend in the neck more as that would be bent in a controlled 10-meter circle. And when you let him bend more, then the horse starts falling on the outside shoulder, and then the horse is only hollow. We call that hollow in the body, and you feel it also when you sit on the horse. Then your inside leg is not driving against something. It's driving somewhere in the air, in nothing. Yeah, because the horse is not there on the inside anymore. He doesn't go from his inside leg into his outside rein, and then that the outside leg can be elevated because the inside leg carries more weight. And then also the exercise doesn't have any value anymore. The shoulder in is an exercise to create collection, elevation, and straightness. And a horse cannot, and that is also important, the horse cannot be taught really shoulder in, then you cannot make him straight on the track. Means that the hound just follow the line of the shoulder. That's the answer. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. And with my horse, who you know, you met him late in the game. When he was young, he had a very difficult time going on the track to the right at all.
Yeah.
And then so even getting him started straight on the track took time, took months, much less asking for shoulder 4, much less asking for shoulder in. But long process, and I think we're getting there. But you mentioned going from shoulder in to a little bit forward, straight on the track. Do
Yeah.
you prefer that to going forward across, say, a short diagonal?
You could do the same, yeah. The most important thing is that when you start teaching the horse lateral, that 90% of the horses are slowing down, because
Right.
they have to put more weight on the leg from behind underneath, and what we call the beginning of collection by the most of the horses. That means also we slow down, and then you make them straight, and then you ride them from the straight line, you ride them forwards. You can do it on a diagonal, you can do it just on the middle of the long side, or whenever you need it. Yeah, and that is to feel that when I ask, then my horse goes forwards, because when you ride lateral and your horse is dying, I call that dying in impulsion, and you cannot regain the impulsion, but many riders have that problem, and they continue by exercising the lateral, then I said they are busy wrongly, because you don't have to correct, and you cannot correct the lateral. You have to correct and to improve your impulsion. Because with the impulsion, you have base to continue a difficult exercise. And then many people say, do it again, and do it again, and do it again, and do it again. And on the end, the horses, they say, yeah, do it again yourself. Yeah, they don't go anywhere. Or they get so upset about it that they take your hand and they pull away from you. And also, what is wrong, and you know me when I teach you, when you do 2-3 times an exercise, then you should more or less go to another exercise. What is similar maybe on the other side, yeah? Because or go a step back. I cannot improve by 10 times riding shoulder in on the same side, the shoulder in. Because there is something wrong. What is wrong? The horse is not able to bend correct around my inside leg by keeping up the activity from behind. So where is my answer for the problem? By continuation of the big circle to a small circle to a big circle, till I feel the horse again start to elevate himself, and then it's okay, I give it another chance. But by doing it again and again and again, what you see people do in the warming up arena, I mean, they drive me completely nuts, insane. They write again and again and again the test. That doesn't make sense. Then you should write a level lower, because the level that you want to write on the show is not the level that you can compete in, because you think that you have to teach them the tricks. We don't teach them tricks. We use that what we teach them at home to develop a better movement, and that better movement will be expressed in the requirement of the test. And then when you have good judges, then they give you, according to your performance, they give you a mark. More important is a comment, by the way, on the mark, for what is, according to the judge, missing to get a 7, an 8, a 9, or a 10, because that's possible. And this is how you develop. Yeah.
Yeah. So speaking of teaching tricks versus actually training horses, you mentioned the piaffe passage with the butt high, no engagement.
Yeah.
So how do you introduce the horse as you're teaching? Because what I see too much is people concentrating on just tapping the legs with a whip or tapping the top of the butt,
Yeah.
which is going to give you that bouncy, circusy piaffe. So what is your method or thoughts on approaching that?
I am convinced that you don't have to teach the horse piaffe and passage. Piaffe and passage is a result of a fully true horse. And when a fully true horse who reacts 100% on the forwards driving sit of the rider, in the forwards gates and in the backwards gate, will automatically come to a moment that he will by himself, when he is driven underneath, and not that you said with the whip, without the whip, then he find a way, we call it a dribble. And the horse start to jump a little bit left, right from behind, and you feel under your seat that the back is up, that the shoulder is light, the connection is fine. And so I don't have to teach him the piaffe. The piaffe he will do when he is fully through. The passage he will do when he's fully through. That's the same with the flying changes. A horse who is super in right canter and left canter, and totally balanced in counter canter left and right, and totally controlled by the sit of the rider, not with the hand of the rider. And I go to the corner in counter canter. I only have to change my pressure point to my inside hip and inside sit bone. And under normal circumstances, I bring that horse then in the corner, deep inside the corner, by purpose out of balance, by changing my sit position, then he makes a flying change. Not because I teach him a flying change. No, because I taught him to be 100% in balance in counter canter. So then the flying change is the success from being so keen on the counter canter. So piaffe, I mean, by Teodorescu, we hardly work from the ground, hardly. And we work them from the sit of the rider. Now, what did we do to improve the power of the horse? Body power, muscle power. We worked on our horse all the time outside in the forest, hill up, hill down, these kind of things. To give them muscle, not all the time in the indoor, around and around and around and around. I mean, it drives you nuts. Yeah, drives the horses nuts. Outside, they learn the best in nature. That's where they belong also, by the way. And then I feel my horse is strong enough, is super under the sit, react fantastic on my driving aids, and then I have a little bit slope down. Then I ask the horse to come to a halt, and I engage him with my legs. What happens? The houndjes lower, the houndjes come under. I do that 3-4 times, and the horse is ready already in his body, really ready, and I tip him with the whip, and then one leg, left, right, left, right, left, right, is the braaf, because he did the first steps of the piaffe. So what we see today, where horses don't lower the croup, that is not piaffe. That is standing on the tip of the front foot. You see also those horses hardly lift the front legs off the ground. They stand upside down. So again, you don't have to teach them. You have to teach a horse, and believe me, correct walk, trot, canter totally in balance, from shoulder in, that's where the dresser starts. He comes underneath himself, he elevates the shoulder, and then the whole story starts, because one exercise leads you to the next exercise. But also have to bring you back to the previous exercise when the chosen exercise is not working. And then you correct the horse and you correct yourself. And not then to point it down and again and again and again and again and again till the horse says, okay, I have had it with you. And they run to the other side of the arena, and you're lucky you stay in the arena, otherwise you find yourself in the aisle in the stable. Good. I hope I answer the question.
Yeah, that was great. I'm glad to hear you say that, because that's the way I was taught.
Mm-hmm.
But I haven't found anybody else in 30 years who does it that way, because it's easier to just hit their legs with a whip and make them jump.
Yeah.
But thank you for talking through the correct way. It makes me believe again in what I was taught originally in life.
I never met those people by George Teodorescu. Okay. There was another question, and that is a little bit more difficult to answer. That is bitless riding or not bitless riding. What do you think about it, Carel? I think that when the horse without a bit in his mouth will do the Grand Prix, then he should be judged exactly the same way as a horse who works the whole country correctly. We call it not circus, what we see today, always on a single bit, what Dr. Rainer Klimke said, and it was also accepted in Germany, right? The Grand Prix, the special, just on a single bit, yeah, a fixed single bit, not a thin one, yeah, or on a double bridle. There is only one aspect, and this is what people have to think about it, who are positive about riding without a bit. Horse is an animal who, when he gets scared, he escapes. And then he takes care of himself and he runs off. Now, when I have a bit in the mouth, then I have a bigger chance to keep and to hold control as without a bit. Because a horse in panic hardly listens or will not listen, yeah, to somebody on his back. So I think there is in the national federations, and especially with the FEI, it is not that they say, and now, but FEI is is a whole story by itself, because I don't think that the FEI is doing any good job. I think it's a bunch of self-interest business people. Only they think about themselves and not on the welfare of the horse. And I say that openly. I don't feel ashamed for it, and I'm not afraid to say it either. But they are afraid for when something goes wrong, how will that be in court? How will be that dealt with when there is damage done by such a rider and horse on another rider, or on a truck, on a car, or whatever? But personal, well, you can ride your horse without a bit, and he does fantastic transitions all on the sit of the rider. Then you could say, yeah, this is the ideal performance from such a rider according to what is really in the rules by the FEI. But to see that in competitive sport, I don't think it will ever happen. I think that on the juridical side there, that many lawyers will break their neck about it. How do you deal with if something goes wrong? Then another question was asked to me, when do you ride on a double bridle, or when you shouldn't ride, or what bits, etc., etc. Now, all the bits who are, and now you have to look it up at the FEI, but in your national federation, I don't think they changed it, that are bits who are allowed to compete with and to ride with. A bit, when it is not sharp, when a bit is not, let's say, putting the brakes on a horse, yeah, can be used for different horses with different problems or character, and then in the hands of a good, independent sitting rider who is not using his hands to stop the horse. And sometimes a little bit, a thinner bit, or a thicker bit, or whatever bit it is, can make a change. But I personally think that a very thick bit, let's say as thick as my thumb is, yeah, with a link in the middle. I love a bit what has a link in the middle, you know, like an eye, like a round, yeah, like this. That is the bits that I always like to work with. And also I ask my people most of the time what kind of bits you have. The same bits, but then Dr. Bristol, they call that, with the middle part is flat. I don't like it at all. It's also not allowed to official competitions to ride on, because there's pinching in the tongue that's sharp. Yeah, a curb bit, the same. I don't like a very thin curb bit. What you see by the, yeah, in America, they have this terrible riding with horses. They saddlebred, or not saddlebred, something else, and they have those very thin curb bit and snuffle bit in the mons. Now that's terrible for the horses. That is abusive riding. No, a nice thick curb bit. Yeah, the shanks, depends what they need, not too long, not too short. And that's what I like to work with. But what I want to say about the bits is that the bit is never the answer for a problem what you have with your horse. And another bit can only work and will work for a very short period of time, positive. I've seen it, I felt it, I have done it in my life also, when I got a very badly trained horse from somebody else, and I had to make a professional argument with the horse, and to make very clear, I don't sit in the saddle because I have nothing else to do. But when you don't have the tools, that means an independent forwards going sit to get the horse off your leg forwards, then it stops working after 3 days, and then you have to need another bit, or you need bob wire in the mouth, or whatever you need in the mouth, an electric spurs. So a very soft bit in a terrible hand from a terrible rider is sharp, and a very sharp bit in an excellent sitting rider is soft like butter. But to come back to what bits, you can use the bits in your National Federation book. There will be a picture page with all the bits who are allowed. And that means you have a good trainer, a good coach, then he will say, okay, for this horse. I mean, there are horses, for example, I like a very thick bit in the mouth. But now you have a horse, and I had a horse like that from Nancy Stanton in the time. Yeah, he went Grand Prix. Everybody said he will never go Grand Prix. All the big guys with the big names, never. I said, oh, that's a challenge for Carel. And I made him prefer going Grand Prix. It was a little bit, in his head, he was not good. So he could do one day fantastic in the morning, and in the afternoon, not rideable, because he just did that what he likes to do. Whenever, wherever. But on the end, we got him in the arena, we got him Grand Prix. But he had so small mouth that hardly did fit the bit in his mouth. Not even talking about a double bridle. So to find the way to ride that horse correctly, I made a decision to give him a very thin, curb bit, with a strength not longer than this. I didn't want it too long, to give him place, because she had to ride on a double bridle, to give him place for a thick badoon bit in his mouth. Because on a thin bit, he just pulled up his tongue. So I had to find a way. So I chose for a very thick badoon with a very thin curb. And then he was, most of the time, he was fine. But he had such a tiny mouth, that hardly fitted the bit inside. And so that means also, like when you choose a bit for your horse's mouth, first of all, it should never be sharp, but it should fit the mouth. Yeah, when a bit is too narrow, it is pushing here. When a bit is too large, then it is out of the mouth on one side. Yeah, you have to have a bit what fits the mouth, the size of the mouth, but also you have to look into his mouth. When you ride on a curb bit, on a double bridle, then you have in a curb, you have what they call the freedom of the tongue, you know, this elevated arch. But now you have a horse who has a very low gum. And you ride a horse with an arch a little bit too high. What do you think what the horse would feel in his mouth when you come a little bit with your hand? It turns around, the arch is pinching into his gum. The poor animal doesn't know what to do. And then we say, he's resisting, he's resisting. No, he's screaming to us for, please leave me alone. Give me a curb bit with a very low arch. So you have to know the mouth of your horse to make a decision what kind of bit you should use. And also what do you have in mind with the bit? What is that what you want to reach by changing a bit in the horse's mouth? And by making a decision what you want to change, you have to know how it should be and how it should feel. And not that you say, yeah, my neighbor said this bit is very good. And then I ride my horse 2-3 days with it, and then it stops. Because when you can make that horse again going in front of your leg, but you only stop him with these special bits, then you make your problem even larger, not smaller. You make it larger. And that's why I said very often, I said on the end, you end up with bob wire in the mouth and electric spurs. So this considering the bits and the use of bits. Yeah. Also, when we ride a horse, for example, there's also another question, when should you start with a double bridle? Yeah, I cannot answer that question. Not by age, I mean. Cannot say 7, 8, 9, 4. You can start with a double bridle when your horse on a normal single bit is so rideable and so easy and so light and so forward and so correct, yeah, that and then you come to the higher, and now I don't misunderstand me that you said, Carl said so, I didn't say so. Yeah. You don't use it to shorten the way for the performers to the Grand Prix. The idea on a double bridle, and we don't see that anymore today, it makes me really puke. Yeah. But that should verfine the already existing aids in even more lightness and more cooperation and more submissive force to the rider. Not because we hold them like today, and I know because I say it, and I don't say I know it all. That's also not the point. But I see it on the competition. By the 90% of the riders, the curb bit is so tight that it almost is crank. Yeah, and that means that the bit itself in the mouth, where I said that the tongue freedom, yeah, is pushing into their gums. Yeah, and what you see then, and otherwise they cannot control the horses, and then they hang behind the big blocks in those saddles. But look at the horses, their mouths. They're open. They spare their mouth so wide open. And why they spare it so wide open? Because they have so much pressure against the gums that it hurts them like crazy. And then the tongue comes out of the bit, or out of the mouth. And in the worst case, the tongue comes over the bit. And then it's pushing directly on the gums. But it's very soft, like our ears. And when it happens every day, then you kill the soft tissue in the mouth. So thank you very much. That's a little bit by sight, a little bit what keeps me busy in the horse world. But so I use the double bridle to verfine when my horse is already so submissive that I don't need a double bridle to keep him, to make him more submissive. It's just I can then do even less and get my horse, and that is the final goal. What is very difficult also in classic riding, and don't think it is by every horse the same. No, it is not. We don't have to romanticize the past, yeah, because horses are horses, and some is easier, some is more difficult, etc., etc. Yeah, but when I can, and that's what I said also, bitless riding, ride a horse completely with my sit. Completely with changing my balance left, forward, and back, for extension, for collection, for elevation, for lateral, whatever you want to call it. This is the purpose of correct training. So what is then the final? And this is something what you hardly see, and I think in reality that should be a requirement. Ride a Grand Prix with one hand. In the Spanish riding school, there were people who rode the whole Grand Prix with one hand. Today we don't see them anymore because the Oberbereiters are all kicked out of the Spanish riding school, and the classical system in the Spanish riding school is eliminated because the knowledge is gone. And you only can learn from the old guards. Maybe I'm one of them, I don't know. But this is the final, on one hand, and the other hand, the whip up, the whole Grand Prix. And that shows that the horse is so sensitive on the sit of the rider that the rider needs only one hand. And they don't ride it just on the single bit. No, they ride it on the curb. And when you ride one-handed on a curb, the slightest mistake what you make with your hand will react, or will make the horse react very sharp on the curb. So it is the final proof from a rider with a perfect sit and a perfect hand. This is what I want to say about the bits. Anything else? Any other questions?
No, that was great. Go ahead, Dante.
Yeah, I have a sort of more of a musing type of thing, because like
Yeah.
the idea is coming to me and I just need to voice them. Sort of in a connection to the sort of just general idea of breeding. So we breed more and more athletic horses specifically designed for a discipline, whichever discipline it might be. And you would think that kind of picking these traits that are sought out, sort of the ease of collection, the ability, the athleticism. It should make the riding easier, so the training easier, so the, I don't know, the shortcut for it, if you will. But it seems to be kind of, we're digging the hole deeper and deeper, because the riding doesn't improve. It's actually kind of, well, obviously not in every case. There are very, very good riders at the moment out
still
there,
have them.
but it kind of, yeah, it seems to be going the opposite way. The better the horses are becoming, according to the standards that we're seeking,
Mhm.
the worse the performances are.
That's right. I mean, first of all, the modern type of dressage horse is a horse who cannot be a dressage horse, most of them, because they are too long in the back, and they have a very, very difficult moment, a difficult problem to bring the back legs underneath themselves. When somebody puts such a horse just on the floor, on a concrete floor, then you see that when they were not trained correctly, or when they are not reacting on the men on the side, then they stay with the back legs behind their sit bone. When a horse stands behind his sit bone, to bring the back leg then 30 centimeter, 1 foot 4, so that he comes with, during the work, that he comes under his hip bone, is for those horses almost important. On top of that, their backs are so long that for them to really to bend in their croup downwards with such a long back is almost impossible. I mean, when you see horses from 25 years ago, most of the horses in Piaffe, they were all down, and today they're all up. Why are they all up? Because it is so difficult for the horse in the way they are built, the conformation, that they have. What is the purpose of a better dressage horse? What was the thinking behind it? There was looking at the front leg. The front leg is so flashy today in a modern dressage horse that everybody who is watching it said, wow, this looks fantastic. Yeah, because all those people are not educated. The audience is not educated to see how it really should be. But when it is flashy, so flashy as that it is, oh, wow, look at this, look at this, look at. But then look on the back legs of the horses in the modern dressage horses. I spoke before about tracking. Over tracking. I don't see in walk or in trot that those horses track even. Not even talking about over tracking. So this whole idea, what they had in the breeding, they went wrong. And now they start to realize that they went wrong. Because more and more really professionals said, we have to go back to what we had. Maybe that we can still keep apart from the flashy movement in front, but we have to get again a shorter horse, a more compact horse, a more basic horse. Where do we get them from? Where you go wrong in breeding, then you go wrong in breeding for 7, 8, 9 generations. Now try to bring that back. That I don't know how they want to do that. At least my lifetime, I will not see it happening, because it will not happen either. But also another thing, and that is what we haven't spoken about in this session, the character of a horse. When you have a horse, he can be the best mover of the world, but when here in his head, he is not willing to relax and to start listening to us in a matter of cooperation based on understanding each other, then you are at the end of the story. Because in the scala of training, the pyramid of training, the first thing is inner relaxation. Now, when I want to talk to any of the people, now the names are here, when I want to talk to them and I want to have a discussion, then I need a listening ear. And when that listening ear is not there, then I cannot have a conversation. And when the person is, let's say, very excited because something happened in here and there, then the person is not hearing what I try to say. I need to work with a person as well with a horse who are able to receive my information without being excited in a negative way. Because when I ask the horse to do something and he is with his head outside because there is a horse cantering outside in the field, then my communication with that horse is that doesn't work. He is not listening to me. He cannot even listen to me. So also that is important, and that is gone lost in modern dressage and in breeding. When you want to read a lot about it, then you have to go to a friend of mine, Carel Talks. Yeah, that's a Dutch guy who is an expert in breeding, an expert in conformation, and he has many good sessions that he writes about where we went wrong in modern breeding. And there are people, I know there are people, they say, yeah, because the modern breeding, the road to success, the road to Grand Prix is shorter. It depends how you want to see it. Is it the Grand Prix where the horse is doing tricks? Or is it the Grand Prix where the horse was, after 5, 6, 7 years of full training in body and in head, able to do the Grand Prix the way the Grand Prix should be performed? And yeah, that's all I can say about it. I wish I could change it. I wish that people start to understand what you do wrong in breeding, that it takes a long time to get rid of it. When you use stallions with the wrong character, then it can take you back 30 years, 40 years before you get rid of, for example, the stallion at the time in Holland in Amor. Now, when I did hear the name Amor, then I said, I go to the next station. I don't want to see this horse. They were dangerous. But people liked him because he was beautiful. It was a beautiful stallion, could move, amazing. But it was not rideable. Okay. I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like along the same lines, it's also, well, because we have so much more coverage now with the social media, and a lot of sports are being sort of shown on television, so everyone can see anything they like anywhere in the world. So we have much more coverage of the different riding disciplines, and because what's being shown is being accepted as a norm, so therefore we can't really sort of judge people for kind of saying it's like, oh, that was a really nice horse, if they've never really seen anything else, sort of from the general public point of view. But we as horse people really don't have any excuses in that regard. So we should know better than to kind of encourage the broken ways of looking at how horses are moving and how horses are treated.
Yeah, I mean, it is a dilemma. It is for the real professionals. It is an amazing dilemma to continue working and teaching in the correct way. And many professionals, they step away from the correct way of training, and that have to do with the fact that the people who come to them, they want to do the tricks as fast as possible, and they come up and they will tell, yeah, but this trainer let you do this, and that trainer let you do that. And what I see, and this really makes me very sad, that very well-known trainers, even trainers from the Spanish riding school, train the horses in the roll cure. And that's not something what I want to say because, no, that is something what I can prove and have seen with my own eyes, with my own ex-students, that I see pictures where those students, my ex-students who should know better, ride the horses, not just in the training at home. No, also on the competitions in the roll cure, and then they get a score and they come home and they continue. And they are guided with Spanish riding school coaches. And I see them also from my time in Germany, where German coaches are going with this totally wrong way of training and riding. And it is because they want to stay relevant. That is because they want to stay in the market and they have to make a living with what they do in their families, and children have to go to universities. And they give up that, what I never want to give up and never will give up. And not because I'm so special, I'm not special at all. I believe in the welfare of the horse, and I believe that 400 years of development in thinking and exercising and experiment, that you cannot just throw that on the side and think you can get away with it. No, you cannot get away with it. It will come back. And you are right that you said we have to educate, or that people are not educated. That's totally right. But how can you tell your story to the people how it should be? When I see now I have 6 people listening to me, and I'm very grateful for that there are 6 people listening to me, because at least those people can carry the story out to the rest of the world. And it is not Carl's story, that is the story of the horse. What have to be put to those people who are willing to listen and said there is something in that man's story. And again, it's not my story. It's the story of the horses who scream out for, please, please, please listen to us. Treat us in a different way. This was enough for today. I hope that when we do it again, that we get more people. But even so, when we had now a very tiny group of people, I'm still very happy.
9.
9 people, and Rachel said, still satisfied about it, because at least 9 people or 10 people, maybe, and I'm almost sure, will carry the story to the next generation. Thank you for all of your attention. Thank you to Laura Perry for, again, to help me to bring my story to the world. And I hope in about 2 months that we can do it again. Thank you to everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye, Carl.
Thank you.
My pleasure.